These are 5 unique instances where credit card perks literally changed and saved my life. The first is going to be a very specific perk of the Amex Platinum, where when you're flying Delta, you're able to access the Delta Sky Club. Being based out of Atlanta, for me, Delta Sky Clubs, they're literally in each and every terminal of the Atlanta airport, both domestic slash international. And when I was traveling on the road as a management consultant every single week and I was taking Delta, whether it's from Atlanta and let's say to DC, for example, they have a Delta Sky Club there as well. So in the mornings, those early AM flights, I have, all right, access to coffee, food, no worries, no issues. I don't need to expense anything or think about it. The Delta Sky Club, it's a perk. Go for it. And literally, like whether it's water, whether it's snacks, like taking a banana on the plane for later or like a chips packet, what have us. Literally, I'm telling you, that would just not just be a cherry on top. That was almost part of the regimen or the routine of, hey, let me get to the airport early so I can have access to, caffeine, food, etc. I'm set for the day where when I'm landing at the client site, I don't need to worry or otherwise. And on the way back on Thursdays, let's say, so like Monday through Thursday, Monday AMs and Thursday you're back. If there's delays or otherwise, trust me, when I say it, like it's like PTSD when I think about it, but it's like at least there's a Delta Sky Club for you to chill, for you to hang out at, for you to just kind of take a step back. You still got to work, go for it. You want to chill, just take a breather. You have the optionality. And just speaking about this out loud really makes me go over to point number 2, which is where Priority Pass is like lounge access without this Delta Sky Club specific access. But it's not just about having the capability to access lounges all across the world. It's about the potential to give it to other folks who are authorized users on your card. One of the cases that's really close to my heart is giving, this Priority Pass access to, let's say, aging parents, for example, or, literally anybody else you want to that you trust to be an authorized user, where when they're traveling, it just feels great that, hey, I didn't need to spend extra money to give them in terms of, an authorized user fee for their card. There's certain cards where basically, hey, there's no fee and they get access to Priority Pass. And if they're traveling internationally, whether it's a 2-hour layover or a multi-hour layover and multiple stops, there's an option regardless of where they are almost all of the times, especially internationally. And it's obviously helped me, in my personal travels. And if you're going to be able to take like you and a guest or even 2 guests, which is more normal with Priority Pass access, then you're not just changing the lives of, yourself and having ease and all these things of just convenience of travel. Literally, there's other folks that are benefiting with you along the way. And if you look at just simple numbers, if you had to eat during a layover or otherwise, and you're going to be able to invest the difference or even save that money, you're not just saving time, money, you also are literally being fed. Like you're basically able to consume without doing much more of a big difference in, over planning, pre-planning, and like all these things. You actually can be in the moment, and it makes traveling just beautiful. It's a different experience altogether because, if if you're just sitting down near the gate hoping that that flight isn't delayed and you got nowhere to go, you're like, I need to use the restroom really quick, but I need to make sure I'm back in time because of this and that and the other. Or you could just stay at a lounge, chill, and when it's time to go to your gate, go. Hey, if it's delayed, go back to the lounge, get another sip of coffee, water, whatever, and keeps on going. One of the things about Priority Pass, which I've never heard anyone talk about, is a very edge case example of something that's almost like a pro tip, which I'll share with us here. So imagine that you have to take someone who needs wheelchair access through security. Here's the thing. In American airports, I can't speak for all of America or, especially internationally, but depending on the airport, there just may not be enough staff to help out with pushing, that, let's say, passenger, on the wheelchair to, literally the gate and otherwise. So a little, you could say side scheme, I guess, if you want to say it like this, but there's value to this, is that you can just say like, hey, can I get a guest pass? And this doesn't work at every airport. It used to work at the Atlanta airport. It doesn't anymore. So, but, good to try with your same home airport or otherwise, where it's like, hey, I'm willing to push this passenger even though I'm not flying, and I'll just get a guest pass to push them, let's say through security and, etc. But the point is, now we're past security, both of us. On the guest pass, on the boarding pass, it like has my name. There's not really a flight attached, but then the main passenger is, they're just with me. And so going to Priority Pass, me, let's say I have access and the wheelchair candidate does not, we can access Priority Pass. And so there's multiple times I've had dinner, drinks, etc., just pushing, I'm not saying random people through, on wheelchairs through security, but when the case comes up, basically that's like an option for us to pass security and then take advantage of said lounge in the exact way that I said. So again, this may change in the future all across the board, but it's not like a TSA thing. I think it really comes down to an airport because it's not an airline specific decision. So hopefully that helps you if this case kind of is applicable to you. One of the biggest ones, in my personal opinion, is just the fact that literally I count miles in terms of miles from a credit card that can be transferred to partners, like whether you want to call them Delta Airlines, British Airways, Cathay Pacific, Singapore Airlines, whatever, right? And hotels as well. In this case, I call them perks where you're not just earning cash back with cards, but it's the fact that you have the optionality to transfer the basically points and miles you're earning, but to redeem them for free flights and hotel nights. And the value here isn't just about getting them for free. The real part of like saving my life is literally when there's like medical attention needed that if it's not an emergency, but let's say, I've literally gotten quoted 20, 30 grand procedures, like USD equivalent, and you can get the same thing done abroad, let's say, where you're comfortable and you trust the system there, and you can do it last minute, where literally a week out, I've booked a last minute flight, which would have cost almost 2 grand basically in cash. And in miles and points, it was as if there was no change in price because a last minute booking in cash is always, generally speaking, going to be more unless you find an accident fare or a mistaken fare or a fare that's you're just lucky. That's great. But points and miles, when it's not changing in this case, even though the cash price is changing, that's a crazy arbitrage in terms of the cash savings and value and etc. But the real reason being like health related and needing access, mobility, location, point A to point B without even worrying about financial impact and knowing that you're actually saving more by doing the same thing you needed to do elsewhere and you're on board, then what's wrong with that? And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think if anything, it's so much better of a solution where it's priceless, period. From there, an interesting one is actually where I am right now. So like I'm here at a Marriott property, the Westin Hotel. But how I got this was actually a very interesting scenario where I unfortunately had water damage at my home, like my property. And because it was totally screwed basically, just period, like 2 floors, like water seeping all over like throughout the home, the insurance was like, all right, well, the fixes that need to be made, there's no way you can literally stay here inhabitable. And so we needed to be at a property which wasn't our home but somewhere else. And in this case, the Residence Inn by Marriott was where we ended up being. And when you book through an online travel agency or a third party, the process worked where we put an insurance claim, insurance says, there's a few steps in the middle, so fast forward. They're the ones who do the booking for us to stay at this Residence Inn property in this case. And what that meant is, in general, your boy, me, I was like, oh man, I wish I could put it on my card or under my account so I could get, nights in terms of elite night credits, but also points on the stay. But one of the hacks is, and this is not like advice, I guess, officially. But in my personal experience, I've seen that, hey, you can override this at, the check-in concierge where you just tell them, hey, can you attach my Marriott number? And if they're nice, they'll do it. If not, like officially you're not supposed to. But I got lucky where, hey, it was slated to be 68 nights to stay while the damages were being repaired. Like that's how crazy of an incident this was. And I was like, dude, I want to get these credits and especially get all those promos that Marriott may have, like where it's like, hey, register with this promo. And then that's next time you stay, like for a stay or the next 2 stays, then like, on that third one, you'll get even another multiplier points or what have us. So simply put, you get a few grand points, let's say if you do certain qualifying activities. So in our situation, I got exactly that. I got points, elite night credits, like all those things. And so this property where I am right now, it costs 40,000 points. And in cash, this is like, let's say a weekend night, almost $500 in cash is like ridiculous. But that's where this night was free, basically, based on the points I earned. But the perk is when you know all these kind of credit card perks and these type of things are on status and whatnot, then basically you're able to know that next step of, wait a second, this is not as bad of a situation as it could be because there could be a benefit that comes on, kind of like a rebate or otherwise, like after the fact. Points and miles mean so much to me. And I literally have learned a lot over the years and still learning. And I would love to help, and just guide anyone who wants to know more. So check out the link in the description below for a quick 15-minute one-on-one intro. Love to talk with you, help you out, and keep it going. And with that, there's so many more other examples, I swear, that are probably just not coming to me right now. But when I tell you, like when you're traveling with others and you have perks like, hey, you and up to X amount of passengers get a free bag, like those type of things too are not small things where, if it's 30, 35 bucks a bag nowadays and you have a family of 4, you're traveling round trip and you need a bag per person, those type of perks from cards are going to be priceless feeling and they have a true tangible cost if you actually need to invoke them. And another quick one is pet fees, for example, where, if you fly with pets, on certain airlines, it's more expensive than others. And so just knowing games around those about, hey, what can I do best in the situation? Does status help me? Does it not? There's so much out there and it never ends. And that's the beauty of learning, right? It's a fun time. So with that, thanks for coming to the end. I'll leave a video for us to check out. I'll pin it over here. And with that, see you in the next one. Thanks for coming to the end. Peace.